Dude, Robert Radler, we are so super psyched to have you on the show today.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come on, man.
No worries, my pleasure.
Yeah, I mean, we've had so many guests on the show cite best of the best as an inspirational moment for them,
Mhm.
myself included,
Yeah,
because
and me.
I was literally at that time in '89 studying Taekwondo, and that was the first like martial arts movie that wasn't filled with all like the sort of kind of like Asian mysticism and all that kind of hocus pocus stuff.
Mhm,
And it just channeled the part of me that wanted to be a coach and that wanted to do to look at this like a real sport.
mhm.
You know what I mean? I mean, I'm a kid who was raised on Miracle, watching the US Olympic team beat the Soviets and all, it just channeled all this amazing stuff. And I was like, wow, this is really making martial arts real to me. And it just it hit all the right buttons on me, man.
Glad to hear it. My dad was a boxer, and frankly, I was not a giant fan of the Chopsaki movies. I saw lots of them. I don't remember most of the names, but I always loved martial arts in one way or another, and especially, we lived in Brooklyn when I was growing up near Coney Island, and my dad organized all the kids in the neighborhood to have boxing matches. Got us these big gloves, and we'd beat the crap out of each other. And that was my introduction into pugilistic arts,
Oh, that's awesome.
and it stayed with me. My dad would watch the fights, in black and white on TV, and I'd sit there with him, and he'd talk me through it. And so when Phillip Rhee came along, I really jumped at the opportunity, even though I wasn't a martial arts expert. What made it possible for me to make this film was that I had been a director and an editor for years, and my editing skills enabled me to capture these fights uh, the way they need to be captured, and know when to move on to the next scene because I had the scenes in my head.
Well, it was really great. I just wanna say, because you just went into the way you were shooting the fights, and Steve and I were actually talking about this. We loved the way that these fights were shot because it's so not often, even now when you watch action movies, that the hit from kind of start to finish is the, uh the center of the entire shot. There's no kind of magic, to sell a beginning and an end to have an entry look cool. It's just a straight strike, and the way you work the camera to just make it work from beginning to end was kind of just wonderful and had never really been seen before, as they were all just kind of, like, into the more of the sequence of all of the moves, the ha, 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 and going through it. So I was really I just loved the way that watching this fight was kind of also seeing a fight like that from the
I mean,
for
and
the
the
first
camera
time.
was so mobile. That's
Yeah,
to me, the camera was so mobile. It
they
was
were
like
so big back then. How do you
these
get it in there?
these
Yeah,
fast zooms and these fast pullouts, and it was amazing.
I'm glad you mentioned that because there were no GoPros, there was nothing portable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
What it was I would shoot masters of the fights, from two or three cameras usually, but focusing on one master shot, and then gradually go in tighter and tighter and tighter. And the guy who made this possible was a guy named Jerry Watson, who was our camera operator for some of this. Jerry got many black eyes.
Mhm.
When you're doing those point of view shots, when you're in a fight and you're fighting with with real fighters, he had no fear. He'd get right in there, and very often his camera would get kicked, and when that would happen, it would kick him in the eye. So he spent much of Best of the Best one with a
Mm.
black eye. And when it got better, we did it again.
Well,
And
especially with the Ree brothers, because keeping up with them must
Right?
have been insane.
you know, I can't take too much credit for some of the elements of the fight because the Ree brothers are extraordinary. They're extraordinarily disciplined guys, whether it's fighting or other aspects of life. It was great to work with those guys on my first film.
And they are the brothers, and they've been doing it together. You know what I mean? The 2 of them.
Yes.
So
Oh, yeah.
they were probably had a rhythm and a touch
They're dance
like
partners.
no, yeah, exactly, like no other, right? They probably could shoot stuff that only the 2 of them could shoot so closely and so perfectly.
And there were times, like in Best One, where Simon actually kicked Phillip in the face. I mean, on purpose.
Yeah.
There's a shot there where Phillip's head turns around and the sweat flies off his hair and all of that. We actually set up for Simon to kick him in the face. Now, most actors don't do that. And
Yeah.
most actors can't do that safely, but these guys were so accurate. It was extraordinary. When Phillip first came to me, he showed me a TV show he did where he was demonstrating his accuracy with a blindfold on. He could punch a half an inch from your nose. And he was so good, and they were so practiced. What I didn't know is they could also act.